after we would eat, we would pray Asr. Then we would have a chance to rest and to prepare ourselves for our evening job. Our evening job was just, this is Jamhuri's practice for 9 years that I lived there. Our evening job was just before sunset, we would leave our houses. We had 4 brothers' houses in Umdurman. Alif, Ba, Jim, wa Dal. And the sisters stayed in Beit al-Istas. All the brothers' houses would march in by Masira to Beit al-Istas. And we would chant. We would chant Allah until the sun set. Then we would pray Maghrib. Right? After Maghrib, this is after a day's work. This is our work in the evening. After Maghrib, the buses would show up. We would get on the buses and we would go out and do Hamla. We would usually go to Souq, Umdurman, Khartoum North, or Khartoum. We would distribute the books and we would hold discussions. The men and the women. Our sisters would go in the street and discuss the ideas of the day with women and with men. And you know that wasn't easy in Sudan for the sisters to do that. They would do it. After that, we would be out maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. The buses would come, they would pick us up, we come back to Beit al-Istas. Then we have a jalsa, okay? Now it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, isn't it? 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. We have a jalsa, and we report back to Ustaz Mahmoud the interesting things that happened to us during the day. If you had nothing interesting to say, you just listen. After the reports, Ustaz maybe would comment here and there, right? And then he would maybe tell us what the upcoming program is going to be, right? And then usually he would tell us Narakum Bakhair, and we would go to bed. It would be 11:30. We would go back to our houses and we eat our food. We couldn't have food. We had like hatalo. We would have just like bread and milk. Bread, just warm milk and bread. And we're very happy. We eat this. Wait, Then I will show you. I want to say what the Jamhuri were doing, just so people understand. Then after we finished eating, it was sometime would be close to midnight, right? We go to sleep with the intention in our heart to get up and pray during the night. Look at this. And many of us would. Some would, and if you could, you did. If you couldn't, it's okay. Sleep, you need it anyway. You get up in the night and you pray your night prayer, right? And then you maybe get another half hour or so of sleep, and then your day goes over again, day after day after day after day. That was our typical practice. And so, all I can say is that 9 years in Sudan, the best 9 years of my life. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about Islam. Ustaz Mahmoud prepared us for the world that we see today. Ustaz Mahmoud was talking about Salafiyin and fundamentalism. Before it appeared, he said that fundamentalism is going to be the main threat to modern civilization. Before it appeared, this is what he was saying. People would hear this and they would say, oh, come on. We still had communism in existence then, right? We had capitalism in existence then. We had so many other things going on in the world. So that said, no, fundamentalism is the issue. Because it's always about Islam. It's always about this Islam returning to this earth. That's our promise. That Quran that was completed by Allah is to be lived on this earth. When He perfected our religion, right, we weren't ready for it. This is Ustaz Mahmoud's teaching. As we develop, we have become ready for the perfect version of it. We have to apply it. It's that simple. Or we'll continue to practice. He said it's like this. We'll continue to he said the Islam that was perfect for the 7th century could not possibly be perfect for the 21st century. No more than if we had a 7-year-old child and we had a perfect outfit for that child. That child is now 21 and you want to take that same outfit, sorry, baby. You want to take the outfit that's perfect for the 7-year-old child and put that outfit on a 21-year-old person. It's that absurd to try to force that law that was perfect for the 7th century on the 21st century. But to say that Islam is complete and Islam is here for the 21st century says we have to go back to the original verses that were revealed in Mecca, and we have to develop a new Islamic law based upon the principles of economic equality, political equality, and social equality. What he says is so obvious. It's so obvious and so necessary, because he's talking about the way in which we organize ourselves in society, and he's talking about Tariq Muhammad, which is the methodology that allows us to organize ourselves so that we can actually live at that level in the society. So I'll stop there because Chef is tired. Enough of the talk. So if there's questions, thank you for listening. That's kind of what it came to me to say. I hope that was useful. And if you have any questions.
When was the last time you were in Sudan?
Last time I was in Sudan was 9/11. Honestly, I left Sudan on 9/9 to return to Nairobi, and I flew out of Nairobi on 9/11. That was the last time I was there. 2001, so 12 years ago.
During your stay in Sudan, have you ever encountered racism against you? I'm not talking about racism against the group of South Sudan. I'm talking about racism against you.
Okay. So the question is it's a good question. When I was in Sudan, did I ever encounter racism against me? And I have to say, honestly, I didn't encounter racism. What I encountered was the Sudanese receiving me. The Jamhuriyin accepted me. Ustaz Mahmoud accepted me. And the Sudanese community accepted me for who I was. I did run into people who had assumptions about who I was before they met me, right? So I ran into people that had assumptions, but once I talked to them, they no longer had those assumptions. I ran into Southern Sudanese who accepted me as well. I went to Juba. Ustaz Mahmoud sent me to Juba on a book campaign. And when I was in Southern Sudan, I also was accepted in Southern Sudan. But I was accepted in Southern Sudan not as a Northern Sudanese, who they first thought I was. They accepted me in Southern Sudan as Zunji Amriki. I went to Juba University, and I was talking to Juba University, and some seniors came out. I had a group this big listening to me. I was talking about the ideas of Ustaz Mahmoud. Ustaz Mahmoud sent me there for that purpose on a small campaign. And it was going well. And then some upperclassmen came out, these guys, and one of them said, and stopped everything. He just popped his fingers. Just everybody stopped. I stopped, everybody stopped. He said, "Who are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm Abdullah Eirnest, and I came from..." He said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm a student of Ustaz Mahmoud, and I..." "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Zunji Amriki." He said, "Zunji Amriki?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, continue."
Maybe he thought you were Jali.
He might have been right. I didn't tell him that. No, but... So I didn't run into racism, brother. Really, it was fortunate that people accepted me. Many people didn't understand. Why would you come from America? I came from Hawaii, right? Why would you come from Hawaii to Omdurman? You know, they asked me. You know, some people were like, "And who is this?" Even the Jamhuriyin, yeah, they're like, "We're trying to get to America, and this guy's coming from Hawaii." So some people were wondering, right, if I was okay, you know? Why is this guy here? But no,
Yes.
yes, sister.
So, do you believe in this strict original form of Islam, or like the 21st century?
Yeah.
Like, do you believe in changing it to like fit our lives now, or
Yeah,
keeping it strict?
That's a great question, sister. That's a great question. I'm a student of Ustaz Mahmoud, right? And so how I see things is really based upon my ability to understand his teachings, right? And from what I understand of his teachings, Ustaz Mahmoud is not, Ustaz Mahmoud believes completely in what he calls the first message of Islam. He believes completely in it. He believes that it came by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and it was perfect for the 7th century. And it's based on the Quran, an understanding of Quran. But certain chapters of the Quran, the Medini chapters of Quran, and not the chapters of Mecca. So yes, I believe in the original Islam that was revealed. I just believe it was perfect for the 7th century, but it's not perfect for us 1400 years ago in our development. 1400 years later in our development. The beautiful thing about Ustaz Mahmoud's teaching, though, and this is so important for people to understand, Ustaz is not saying we need to change Islam to fit the 21st century. Ustaz would never say that. He's saying Islam is suitable already for all time, but it has to be properly understood. This is what he's saying. He said Islam itself has two messages. I was trying to remember the ayat. Okay, he said it has two levels of it. There's two messages in it. And so why I'm saying that is he's not saying every individual needs to find what.
الله نزل أحسن الحديث كتابا متشابها مثاني.
That's what I was thinking of. Yes, okay. Yes, it's in the Quran. أحسن كتاب مثاني. But the idea is that it came from God. It's already two levels. And by basing the law now on the original level and not on the level that came more recently, the Median levels, we can establish an Islamic law suitable based on the principles, the humanistic principles that are talked about today but not realized today. Because people talk about democracy in this country. You saw what happened with the democratic system and Trayvon Martin? Look at the court system. It's broken. Right? We still have real issues around trying to be democratic. People talk about being socialistic, but they don't have the capacity to be socialistic. So what I'm saying is that, yes, I believe in the first message of Islam. I also believe that Islam has two messages. And I think if we approach it that way, we avoid the problem of every Muslim deciding what works for them. Because that's what's starting to happen. Every Muslim is starting to say, well, I don't quite understand how this could have been God's word. This is a very, you have to think about that statement. God revealed that, but I don't really believe that. That's a very strong statement. Ustaz Mahmoud is not saying something like that. He's saying Allah revealed that at a time and a place for a particular purpose, to serve its purpose. And that is the first message of Islam. The time has come now for the higher principles to be applied. The law needs to be derived from the higher principles. And that way, we have a cohesive religion that everybody can understand, and it all comes from the Quran. It's not from outside of the Quran, it's from inside of the Quran. And that's the beauty of his teaching. That's so different than someone, we have a lot of intelligent people in the Islamic world, and they're looking at the Quran and they're coming up with their ideas and their solutions, and they're mixing this and that. So that's not mixing anything. He's taking it from the Quran itself. And this is what convinced me of it, I was convinced by the fact that he's saying something very frightening, that there's two messages of Islam. That's frightening to think that, because if that's true, then we are in a very dangerous situation as Muslims when we think it's only one message. Okay, so if he's correct, if Ustaz Mahmoud's correct, and I'm confident he's correct, right? Then it's important for everybody to take a good look at what he's saying. Because I think when people do, they'll see he's saying something that's very, very important, and that is that Islam has the capacity to govern our lives, all of us, men and women, Muslims and non-Muslims. See? Right now.
So, Brother Abdullah,
Sorry.
after you became Muslim and you learn more about Islam, have you tried to convert anybody to Islam, or have you tried to?
Yeah. That's a great question. Have I tried to convert anybody to Islam? That's a real powerful question. My best attempt to convert anybody to Islam is to try to convert myself to a Muslim. This is what my struggle has been, to try to, because this is the problem. There's one problem with Fiqh al-Jamhuri, right? Is that once you learn it, you have a real tremendous responsibility on your hands. Now, right? Right? Once you learn it, you have this huge responsibility on your hand to try to practice it. And the practice is very high level of practice. Right? So my issue about but I will say this. When I'm practicing Islam as well as I can, or attempting to practice it as well as I can, people are interested in what I'm doing. They're interested in what I'm saying. That's what I'll say. But attempting to go out and convert someone, I'm more trying to just convert my stubborn self to a Muslim.
After you came back from Sudan, after converting to a Muslim and everything, has anyone thought, like, have you encountered racism before that actually converted from your religion you were born into?
That's a great question, because one of the beauties of Christianity,
Abdullah, what's the question?
the question was, since I've come back to the States after becoming a Jamhuri, have I experienced racism or oppression because I'm now converted to being a Muslim? And I was going to go back and say this. One of the beauties of Christianity is that Christians allow people the freedom to change their mind, right? So there's not the pressure on a Christian. I was born a Christian, right? So when you're a Christian, if you decide to convert to Buddhism or Islam or Hinduism, you're not going to find people that are threatening you, or, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be okay, you know, especially in the Western world. It might be in the United States in particular. So even in my family, which is a religious family, some parts of it, not all of them, but you know, some parts of it, I got some fear. Their understanding of what Islam was, right? And them being afraid for me when I told them I was a Muslim. But in my immediate family, what they noticed was I came back from Sudan a better person than when I left. See? So this convinced my sisters, this convinced my mother and so forth that I'm fine, my grandmother. You see? Whatever it is that was, it's okay.
Yeah, I watched a video on YouTube about, it's called Voice of the African-American. I was talking about how, like, trying to change people's point of view of Muslims in the Western world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if I put it in the right words, but I guess some people's point of views could have been changed.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that that's a really important thing to think about, is how we as Muslims are, you know, because people will say, well, Islam's the fastest growing religion in the world. Well, Christians say the same thing about Christianity. I don't know which one is true, right? But I do know that Ustaz Mahmoud said, he talked about a hadith that says, where the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is with the Sahaba, and he's saying to them that at the end, you know, there'll come a time when people will be called to rise against you, just like you're calling people to a feast. That there will be people rising against Muslims, and they'll be joining in against Muslims, just like they're going to have a feast. And his companion said to him, well, we won't be many during that time, will we? And he said, no, you will be many, but you'll be like the foam on the top of a river. You won't have any substance. And God won't care anything about you. This is a hadith.
يوشك
انت ده عليك غنوم اكل على القصعه.
كما تداعى الأكلة على القصعة. قالوا أن قلة النحل الذي يا رسول الله قال بل غثاء وغثاء السيل.
كثير
ولكن
Yeah, and so that's why Musa said that time is coming. That time is coming. So when you're doing the work that you're doing about, well, we know what Islam is in our hearts. We have it. We know what it is. So how is it that we're not attracting people? Right? That's the question. How is it that we're not attracting? How can we be repelling people with Islam? We can't. We can't. You can't repel people with Islam. Right? We're repelling people, but it's not with Islam. It's with a misunderstanding of Islam. This is what I think.
But you think that's probably after September 11th, right? Very much right now, Islam is shrinking.
Right.
September 11th.
September 11 is it's Allah's timetable. He's making the issue forefront now for Muslims, right? Because there's nowhere to hide, right? There's nowhere to hide. It's like, yeah, you're Muslim, okay. Okay, tell me about that. Why? What do you think? What do you believe? Right? And so that's important. That's important because it's forcing us to have to not just be in the habit of being Muslims, not just being content with our personal practice. Now we have to be concerned about how we're perceived in the world. The relationship between what we believe to be true and what other people believe to be true about us and about our religion, So it's like Allah put us on spot. Like the kids say, He put us on blast. He put us on blast after 9/11.
صار عندك حاجة سؤال ولا حاجة؟
I have a question. So, according to you based in Islam on Jamhuri,
Yes.
because this is where you get your initials. Okay, which I have no problem. But of course, I'm not a Jamhuri.
Okay.
This is my friends, my best
Okay.
friends, but they have views. I agree to some, I disagree to some.
Okay.
Because maybe I didn't learn it the right
Okay.
way. So my question to you, since you know a lot about that, you become now you consider yourself a Muslim.
Yes.
But for me, I'm a Muslim, no matter Jamhuri or whatever, everybody is like,
Good.
and everybody have way. So you find, like, when you talk about yourself, you think you always like, for instance, what's your name? They are Muslim and they are Jamhuri. Because this is their, I don't know how to say it, I'm not going to say
It's their
second.
path. It's their
Exactly, their path. So is it you, same thing to you, you write yourself, you are a Muslim and then Jamhuri, or you are just Muslim and you believe on Jamhuri like me, you believe on their beliefs, but you are not.
Okay. That's a great question too. Sister, this is how I see myself. I see myself as a person who's trying to become the best Muslim that I can possibly be. Okay?
You find yourself in,
Yes.
you find that in Jamhuri.
I don't think, honestly, I don't think I'm Muslim at this level. I think I'm Muslim definitely at La ilaha illallah Muhammad
Yeah,
Rasulullah. I'm Muslim at that level for sure. Okay? And then once I came in here, I'm trying on Tariq Muhammad to move to that higher level of Islam. That's how I see myself. And this is the part of the Jamhuri. This is where the Jamhuris come in. The clearest and the most convincing explanation of the path between here and here, I found with Ustaz Mahmoud. That's where I am. Okay?
Especially maybe you're right. I just wanted to hear it from you because I think in the Western society it's easy to, not easy, it's the best way to introduce Islam that way, because it's like if you introduce it the way I'm not going to say it the right way or the wrong way. It's the way that we own it and we want, like I am, okay? I don't know if I'm myself, I believe on that. My mom and dad told me that. Maybe I still never done something. But if I try to convince one of my friends that are Christians, the way I talk and I tell her, do this, she will never be this. Because for her it's like, oh, this is not, this is not, this is not. But I cannot convince her with something else because I don't know the belief of some, which is, I mean, sometimes I feel like I really need to know something else to communicate, but I can't. I tell them, hey, this is Islam, this is how it is, I have to do it this way. As you said, something is right or wrong, but we believe on it, we just have to take the whole thing. But it's good that there are some people coming out of that, like you are not born Muslim, I'm born Muslim, so I'm going, but you are not born Muslim, so you have the opportunity to learn more and bring something else to other people.
Thank you for that. And I teach at a college in Seattle, Washington, and I have a course I do on fundamentalism in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And in the course, I always try to introduce some of Ustaz Mahmoud's ideas. And the students love it because they hear about Jewish fundamentalism and Christian fundamentalism and Islamic fundamentalism, and they're, oh my goodness, you know, this is a very dangerous thing. And then when they hear about Ustaz Mahmoud's ideas, they're very happy to understand that there's Muslims that have an understanding that is appealing to the intellect, right? And appealing to the heart. So I think she's right. I think it is a very good way to present. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, what I did is there's a movie being not enough. That's the first answer. No, I'm not enough. I've written a little. There is a movie being made on Ustaz Mahmoud, and I'm part of that. And so I've been editing some of the scenes in the movie, and it's in right now. It's gone to a Hollywood producer, and it's going to a documentary producer, and hopefully it's going to come out. So that's been one of the things. But I also need to write my own story, which I really have notes, but not a full text. And I have to do it. And I thank you for that question. Did you have a follow-up question?
Let me ask, I mean, you thought that you are coming from conservative family background.
Somewhat.
My sisters say we are Muslim by nature.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get what is specifically, since you practice Christian, and you're telling about Mahmoud, what is most important.
Yeah.
Interesting for him is just how we practice it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in behavior, way how the people behave, not just how they do praying or something like that. That's what you mean, I believe.
Yes, yes.
So, what was the point that from that Christianity, I see that the people behave in Christianity very well. They are fair, they don't lie here.
Yeah.
They are very good in treating people.
Yeah.
And specifically when I am Muslim. But from my background, I see that Muslim mostly about praying, how they wear, how they read Quran and something like that. But when I see some American here, Christian, honestly, I see the behavior, the good behavior on there. So what was a turning point for you from that, lead you to be a Muslim in this guy? Also maybe you've been trying to get us this in all your lecture, but
that's the $1 million question. That's a great question. Okay, I'll try to answer it like this, brother. What first attracted me to Islam was that I've always been, well, not always, but since I've been an adult, I've been political.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm interested in changing the society that we live in for the better. And when I was practicing Eastern religion, after being a Christian and practicing yoga, reading Hinduism and stuff, it was all about perfecting myself. Releasing myself from the illusion of the world. Self-realization. But it wasn't about fixing the world. It wasn't about siyasi or iqtisad or any of that. And I always had a problem with that. So the first thing that attracted me to Islam was that Islam is comprehensive. It's not just about a path for the individual, it's also a way to organize society. That's the first thing that was very attractive to it. Because in my mind, it never made sense to me to just work on myself and still have to live with everybody else. You know, what's the point? So that was the first piece, and this is where Ustaz Mahmoud's ideas became so attractive to me, because even when I read that simple book, he's talking about, he called democracy political equality, and he called socialism economic equality, and then he talked about social equality, meaning that our children can marry from one another. We don't have a feeling about any group of people that would prevent us from marrying from them or them marrying from us. That's equality. He talked about those three equalities. And he said that Islam can create a society that promotes those three equalities. And the purpose of that society is for everybody then to have an opportunity to go on their own path of self-realization in an Islamic society. So he has an understanding of Islam that's comprehensive, because he's saying the solution to the community's turmoil is economic equality, social equality, and political equality. And he derives those from principles in the Quran, Maccabean principle. And then he said the solution to the rest of the problem is how each of us individuals has he called it minhaj, right? A methodology, which he said was psychotherapeutic. He said that the prayer of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is a psychotherapeutic methodology for us as individuals to heal ourselves, so that we can now practice justice, we can practice democracy, we can practice equality ourselves. Not just develop a society out here that has democratic rules and policies, but to develop a democratic person, right, who tries to live by those rules and policies. So this is what really Christianity didn't offer me. Christianity didn't offer me the methodology to turn the other cheek. I came here, I still don't turn the other cheek very well. The brothers know. I still, right, like most of us, right? You slap me on this cheek, okay? I'm ready to go. So, Ustaz Mahmoud said, the purpose of, he said, Jesus said, this is Ustaz, he says, Jesus said, love those who despitefully use you. What's higher than that? What's higher than that? A person who hates you and misuses you, love him. That's Jesus' teaching. But Ustaz said, who practices it? Nobody. Not Christians, not Muslims, not Jews. The way that we can practice it is to understand the worship practice of the Prophet Muhammad, and then, peace be upon him, and then begin to imitate it, so that we begin to reflect his same behaviors and his same values and his same qualities. He's saying that if we do that, eventually we can reach a point where someone will slap you and you will realize simultaneously that came from Allah, and you won't attack the person back. If that's is saying that this is the purpose of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ coming in the first place, because the teaching, Jesus brought it. Love thy neighbor as thyself, love those who despitefully, love thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. Yes? But there's no practice. But how do we as human beings develop that behavior? That's minhaj nabawi. And not as that minhaj nabawi is not Ustaz Mahmoud's. That's all the Prophet Muhammad in the Quran and in the Hadith. We have it. Ustaz Mahmoud is just saying, go back and understand it properly and apply it to yourselves, particularly the layl, and to start to develop those qualities of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. He's saying, oh my goodness. So this is the answer. That's, for me, the reason that Christianity frustrated me was because in this society, if you know the history, right? The same people that were going to church were owning my people. They would get up in the morning and they write down in their book, keeping a record. The young brother, he's still here. Oh, I woke up in the morning, right? and I beat Philip for wetting in the bed, right? I tied Maria to the tree, and so forth. And then I went to the church and I prayed. And then I came from the church and I beat Simon for stealing bread. The two religions doing that man no good, right? He's beating children and beating people and holding people in an unfree state, yet he's practicing his religion. What good is it? This is my thing. What good is your religion if it doesn't allow you to respect someone's humanity? That was my question, right? So I started to question people preaching religion and not practicing. That was my thing that was irritating me.
So that means you were believing. You think maybe all religions are okay as a religion, but you were looking for how we can take that religion and put the guy who's going to put a system for it so that it's going to be implemented in a right way.
Yeah, I didn't have it all worked out so clearly, but yes, I believe that, and Ustaz Mahmoud gave me the words. He said, any faith is as good as any other faith, if it's just at the level of faith. I'm a Jew, and I believe Judaism is the truth. I'm a Muslim, and I believe Islam is the truth. I'm a Christian, and I believe Christianity is the truth. MashaAllah, Ustaz Mahmoud said, each of those is equally fine.
Yeah, right.
Because it's just based on belief.
Right.
He said what we need is it to be based on certain knowledge and practice. See? Not just saying I'm Christian, I'm Jewish, I'm Muslim, and nothing, no benefit comes from it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I was interested. My question was, how can I improve myself and at the same time be part of something that's improving the rest of society as a whole? And I saw that in Islam when I first heard it presented to me. And I saw in Ustaz Mahmoud a very clear, comprehensive ideology about how those things work together and why they work together. So it was very convincing. That small pamphlet was so convincing to me when I read it. I told him, I came back, I said, I think you're the truth I'm looking for. Because I read that book and it just, my questions that I had were just very clearly explained, and then this whole picture, bigger picture, was opened up to my mind. That's what I saw.
Can we conclude that religious, it doesn't matter, but what is matter is how you practice it or how you behave, no matter how you believe, which religion you believe in, how you practice it, does that matter? Can we say that?
I believe that that's true, because I believe that if you're Muslim and I'm Christian, right? And I have ma'amala and you don't have ma'amala, right? Then I'm the one practicing the religion.
Right.
That's Islam. The ma'amala is Islam, not the person calling themselves Muslim.
That's correct.
Isn't it? Yeah. So you can be anything, Yahoo. Inshallah.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I know some very beautiful Jewish people, you know, and they have very good ma'amala.
So, Brother Abdullah, just before we wrap it up, and I want to take you out a little bit of religions.
Okay.
I want to take you back to Sudan.
Okay.
Can you tell us what's the funniest thing or what's saying right now it's still in your mind about Sudan or about people or something happened to you during your time over there?
Man, so many beautiful things happening in Sudan.
It doesn't have to be beautiful. Something just still you remember it and it's a different
When I first went to Rufaa, Stas's village where he's raised. He's raised. We went there and it was raining, and we were invited to dinner, and it rained after sunset, so we had to wait. And then we're supposed to walk from Dim Rufaha to another Hilla, okay? And it had been raining for hours, right? And so I'm American, right? And I'm like, I know we're not going to walk out in this night, you know? I'm thinking, okay? And so after a few hours, our leader, Sheikh Khalid, said, okay, Mazumin, let's get ready. And so I'm getting ready, and we go outside, and it's pitch black. You can't see anything. And just mud, tin. Okay? Cold, wet, and pitch black. And we're walking across a field, you can't see where we're going. And so I'm complaining. I'm saying to the brothers next to me, wait a democratia. We should have a vote. We should have a vote, because if we vote, I know we do not want to go across this field. I'm saying this. And even one of the brothers, he agreed with me. So we're walking in the cold, and we're walking in the dark. And I'm just like wondering, what have I done to myself? I think I'm with mad people, And just be going to dinner 2 hours after you've been invited at night, in the mud, and in the cold, and in the darkness, right? We walked a little bit further, and sure enough, we saw like a lantern waving. And this guy, he was waiting for us because he had invited us, and we had said we're coming. So he's waiting for us for dinner. We got there, they warmed up the dinner, and we ate. It must have been maybe 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, I don't know. This showed me something amazing. And about Sudanese. And then I heard the story that if you're invited, if your guest hasn't arrived after, an hour, then you can start worrying about them, and then, if they haven't arrived after 2 hours, you can start to, check. So that was, I thought, that's a story that comes to mind. That really taught me something about, just how special Sudanese people are. Culture. Culture is so big and so strong.
So last question that I wanted to ask. Were you in Sudan when Nimeri committed that crime against the Ustaz Mahmoud and the Republican? Were you in Sudan at that time?
Yes.
How did the news hit you? I mean, what did you think at the time?
That's a great question. That's a really powerful question. I was at that time, the security forces had confiscated our house, and I was living with my uncle Taha in Khartoum North. From my uncle, he's a Republican brother, and we were involved in meeting. Ustaz was directing us from prison, right? Directing us from prison, and then he came out of prison, right? He came out of prison like on the 18th of December. And we had a mutamara. The brothers and sisters came from all over the country, 700 maybe, 500 at least, crowded around his house and stuff. And I was one of them. And I could tell a long story, but I'll make it a short story. Ustaz Mahmoud, that night he came out, he told us a story, 3 stories, about how a disease came into a village and people were dying from the disease, and then the sheikh of the village caught the disease, he dies, and then the disease leaves the village, stops, nobody else is killed. He told us that story 3 times in one night, 3 different sheikhs. He's preparing us for what he's going to do. But we didn't understand it, because when I was going back to my house with Taha, God rest his soul, my uncle, who I love dearly. Now in my mind, Ustaz Mahmoud, he said something like, Ma Buddha Jamhurin to Dafa al Sudan. You got me? That we, just as the sheikhs have defended their village by dying for their village, the Jamhurin are going to have to defend this country, right? And so I'm thinking, and die for the country. I'm thinking the Jamhurin. But he didn't tell us about Jamhurin. He was talking about the sheikh. But in my mind, Ustaz Mahmoud dying was not even, he couldn't tell me a story 3 times about a sheikh dying and me understand that sheikh to represent him. I didn't understand it that way. This is what I'm saying. So I was there. This is how it hit me. Because I'm thinking, Ustaz Mahmoud, This, I still even believe this. If he didn't want to die, he wouldn't have died. That's how I believe, okay? But Ustaz Mahmoud submitted to what happened. That was his sacrifice that he was supposed to make, and he made it. But he told us a story. We were going back to the house. Taha said, he said in Arabic, I didn't like what Ustaz said. And I heard that as, how can you say something like that, uncle, you know? To myself, I didn't say it to him, but I'm thinking in my heart, I can't, you know, because I hear it as, I don't like what Ustaz said. That's how I heard it, yeah. Like a rejection of what Ustaz said, you see? But what he said, so I asked him, and he said the story that he told. And again, I still didn't understand it then. I just got quiet. But in my heart, I was very confused and a little angry with Taha, because I'm thinking, Ustaz has told you a story, you say you don't like his story, you should like his story, you know? But what he was saying was, he understood the thing I didn't. He understood that Ustaz Mahmoud was saying, the Sheikh is going to die for his country, just like the Sheikh died for his village. He told us that story 3 times in one sitting. But me, my mind was such that I didn't believe anything would happen to him. I believed he was so powerful, if he didn't want to die, he wouldn't have died. So I was never worried about him. Even when I saw Nameri on television talking about he had agreed with the verdict and stuff like that, I wasn't worried. Even when the security police picked me up and took me to jail, I wasn't worried. When they took me to a security building because somebody was asking about me because of my sister, they were asking about me. They took me to security. I wasn't worried at all. I didn't believe Ustaz Mahmoud was going to die. A brother asked me, he said, this is my mind, you see how crazy I am. He said, Abdullah, I'm worried. I said, worried about what? He said, yeah, Mary's on television agreeing with the verdict and stuff. I said, brother, there's no rope that can take Ustaz Mahmoud's life. This is my mind, right? So I was of that kind of mentality, right? And it wasn't until after the event, right, where I was in security, and a student of mine came in, Osama. He was a student of Jama Khartoum, and he now was the adjutant, or he worked for the second, under Omar Muhammad al-Taib, the second man under him. So he was the deputy head of security for Sudan. This was his adjutant, or his lieutenant. And so he was my student. He came to me when I was in security, and he was shot. That's Abdullah. And I'm wondering, why is he? I said, Osama? You know, he says, yeah, and he told me he worked for him and stuff. But it wasn't until I could see how shy he was that then I realized that it happened. Right? But up until that moment, my mind was, that's my boy. Hanging? How are they going to hang him? How does that work? I really was convinced that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I just have one last question. Go ahead, bro. When you stayed in Sudan for 9
Can I
years,
the last question?
in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
then you returned to Sudan in 2001.
Yes.
How do you see? Did you notice any difference between the time you stayed and then?
I did. I saw a difference, and I saw something beautiful too. Okay. I noticed that at the airport when I came into Sudan, and I had a special clearance I got from Bashir Bakar, one of the brothers who works for the Foreign Service, got me a clearance so that I could travel through customs without being bothered. Right? I had on my passport, leave me alone. Okay. So when I went in there, I noticed that the police were not behaving